The plasma cutter hummed as Lisa carved through the final seal on the atmospheric regulator. Beads of sweat rolled down her temple, despite the climate-controlled environment of Station Kepler 442b's educational wing. She was supposed to be in advanced xenobiology, but Professor Chen's lectures on Krillian respiratory systems couldn't compete with the mystery of why Classroom 7 Delta kept losing pressure every third cycle. "You're going to get expelled," Alex said from the doorway, his arms crossed. The young maintenance technician had been trying to stop her for the past 20 minutes. "And you're going to get fired for letting a student into restricted areas," Lisa replied without looking up. The regulator's casing fell away, revealing a network of crystalline conduits that definitely shouldn't have been there. "What is this?" Alex's expression shifted from annoyed to concerned. He moved closer, his scanner already out. "That's not standard issue. Those look like—" He paused, running a spectral analysis. "Lisa, those are quantum-entangled communication nodes." The implications hit them simultaneously. Someone had been using Classroom 7 Delta as a transmission point. Before either could speak, the air shimmered. Reality folded in on itself with a sound like tearing silk, and suddenly they weren't alone. 3 figures materialized in the center of the classroom. They stood roughly 2 meters tall, their bodies covered in segmented exoskeletons that shifted between deep purple and silver. Compound eyes, each containing thousands of facets, regarded Lisa and Alex with insectoid indifference. The Zelthori, a species humanity had only encountered through long-range probe footage from the galactic rim. The lead Zelthori's translator crackled to life. "Primitive verification successful. Commence acquisition protocol." Lisa's heart hammered against her ribs, but her mind raced faster. The Zelthori were known for their technological superiority and their complete disregard for species they deemed developmentally insufficient. If they were here, it meant Earth's colonies had been cataloged for something. And given the military-grade communication equipment hidden in a civilian classroom, that something wasn't good. "Alex," she whispered, not taking her eyes off the aliens, "are there any others on the station?" "Checking." His fingers flew across his wrist console. "No, just these 3. But Lisa, I'm reading massive energy signatures in orbit. There's a ship up there." The Zelthori soldier, at least that's what its weapon-laden harness suggested, tilted its head. "Verbal communication detected. Translating." A pause. "Query, why do you not flee?" It was a genuine question, Lisa realized. They expected panic, expected primitive reactions from primitive beings. An idea began forming, dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it was all she had. "Because," Lisa said, stepping forward despite Alex's sharp intake of breath, "running would be illogical. You've obviously established a monitoring station in this classroom. You've been observing us for weeks, maybe months. You know the station's defensive capabilities, our response times, our behavioral patterns." She gestured at the exposed communication nodes. "You wouldn't have gone to this much trouble if you didn't consider us worth studying. So the question isn't why we don't flee. The question is, what mistake did you make that brought you here in person?" The 3 Zelthori exchanged clicking sounds that the translator didn't bother processing. The leader stepped forward. "Astute, the monitoring equipment malfunctioned. We required direct observation before the primary fleet arrives." Its compound eyes seemed to focus more intently. "You are different from the other humans we observed. Explain." "I'm a student," Lisa said. "I study xenobiology, comparative evolution, and adaptive problem-solving. I'm what humans call a troublemaker because I don't accept simple explanations." She paused, calculating. "You're here to evaluate humanity for conquest or alliance. The hidden monitoring station means you're being cautious, which suggests you've encountered species that surprised you before. But you revealed yourselves because of equipment failure, which means you're working on a timeline. Something's forcing you to accelerate your plans." Alex stared at her like she'd grown a second head, but he remained silent. The Zelthori leader's exoskeleton rippled, a gesture Lisa couldn't interpret. Your analysis contains 73% accuracy, impressive for a species still confined to 3-star systems. Then let me increase that percentage, Lisa said, her voice steady despite her terror. You're not here to conquer. You're here because you're running from something. Your technology is incredible, but you're desperate. Otherwise, you wouldn't risk direct contact with an insufficient species over a simple equipment malfunction. You just leave and start over somewhere else. The silence that followed felt like falling. Finally, the Zelthori leader made a sound that the translator rendered as remarkable. There is a phenomenon, it continued, that your species has not yet encountered. We call it the cascade, a wave of quantum instability spreading through this galactic arm at near-light speed. It unravels the atomic bonds of complex technology. Within 15 of your years, it will reach this sector. Lisa's mind reeled, but she forced herself to focus. And you need allies who use simpler technology. Humans. We're primitive enough that our tech won't be affected. Correct. We have been observing 12 species that meet the criteria. Humanity was deemed unlikely to accept cooperation without demonstration of force. Because you don't understand us, Lisa said quietly. You watched us fight each other, compete, struggle for resources. You saw aggression and assumed that's all we are, but you missed the most important thing. She gestured around the classroom. This is a school. We're a species that teaches, that shares knowledge across generations, across cultures, across planets. We don't just survive, we make sure others can survive too. She took a breath. You came here expecting to intimidate primitive savages into serving you. Instead, you found someone who could figure out your real situation in 5 minutes of conversation. Now multiply me by 8 billion on Earth alone. That's what you're actually dealing with, a species of problem solvers who just found out about the biggest problem in the galaxy. The Zelthori were absolutely still. What are you proposing? The leader asked. Actual cooperation, not servitude. You teach us about the cascade, about galactic civilization, about threats we haven't imagined. We help you develop fallback technology and survival strategies. And together, we figure out if there's a way to stop or survive what's coming. Alex finally found his voice. Lisa, you can't just. Yes, I can, she turned to the Zelthori. But here's the condition. No invasion, no demonstration of force. You come to us honestly, you share the truth, and you treat us like partners, not primitives. Because if you don't, if your fleet shows up and tries to intimidate Earth, you'll find out exactly how creative humans get when threatened. And I guarantee you we'll survive the cascade. The question is whether you'll be surviving it with us or despite us. The 3 Zelthori conferred in rapid clicks. Lisa's hands were shaking, but she kept them clasped behind her back. Your species designation will be elevated to potential peer civilization, the leader announced. Our fleet will approach under diplomatic protocols. You will be remembered as the human who prevented a catastrophic misunderstanding, Lisa of Station Kepler 442b. Just Lisa is fine, she said. And for what it's worth, welcome to the neighborhood. It's about to get a lot more interesting. The Zelthori shimmered and vanished, leaving only the faint scent of ozone. Alex stared at the empty classroom. Did you just negotiate first contact with an alien species in a broken classroom, using nothing but logic and attitude? Lisa sank into the nearest chair, her legs suddenly weak. I think so. Also, I think I'm going to throw up. Don't. You're humanity's first interstellar diplomat now. That would ruin the mystique. Despite everything, Lisa laughed. Outside the window, stars glittered with new meaning. A universe full of species to understand, problems to solve, and the greatest challenge humanity had ever faced approaching at near-light speed. She had 15 years to prepare. First, though, she needed to pass xenobiology. After all, she had a feeling Professor Chen's lectures were about to become a lot more relevant.